Hey, what is up guys, Seth here, and today I'm bringing you a fantastic rogue deck. This is tier 1 Volcanics, and the funny thing about this deck is, even despite the meta being as broken as it is with qliphorts and the Volcanics and the whole shadolls and Burning Abyss, even Spirit Beast making a comeback in the OCG for some reason, this deck holds its own as a anti-meta rogue burn sort of deck. It's so weird when you realise how broken this is just because of one trap, which is the trap called Blaze Accelerator Magazine. Now you might not think that this deck can do much, but I assure you it really does. Now you'll ask me, what does it do against qliphort? Qliphort, well, I'll keep it very simple, okay? Qliphort spends LP to add things to their hand in order to gain advantage. Now because of that LP spent, you can then destroy them just using scatter shots, just constantly refueling on scatter shots, and then making them not want to attack because of Volcanic counter. Now Volcanic counter doesn't actually target the opponent's monster, it is a player damage, it's a player damage, so when you get damage inflicted to you, you hit them back for the same amount of damage that you took, and that can be quite hefty for a qliphort deck, especially when they're constantly paying that 800 life points. If you can manage to clear their field somehow with Phoenix Wing Wind Blasts or stop them from special summoning with Vanity's Emptiness. The thing about this deck is, the reason that it's so good is because it has all the qualities of what meta is running right now. It's got the Vanity's Emptiness, it's got the free recycles, it's got the Phoenix Wing Wind Blast for no costs because of Volcanic Shell, it's got burn damage. A way to totally dodge having to hit them for battle damage, it's got the burn damage instead. It can inflict battle damage. It's got a 1900 attack searcher. Now for a level 4 to have 1900 attack is really good. And the other thing is, it's got the draw power as well, because they've got the Royal Firestorm Guards. It's not just all about Blaze Accelerator Magazine, it's got the Royal Firestorm Guards, which when it normal summoned, you target 4 pyro type monsters, which can include itself. Like say you summoned one on another turn and it got sent to the graveyard, you can then just constantly keep making these loops where you keep bringing back Royal Firestorm Guards and all the scatter shots, and then just constantly recycle. This deck can endlessly play as long as it keeps bringing out this Royal Firestorm Guards. It's fantastic to watch. It's fantastic to see it tool the current meta. Now the extra deck is, admittedly, it can change from time to time. You can use Lavalvo Chain, you can use Emerald if you so choose. I wouldn't suggest it though. I wouldn't suggest, you know, being so janky. Lavalvo is a good card if you want to run the Circle of Fire Kings. However, what I'll say now is, there's 2 instant fusions that we run in the deck. Now I'm not going to give you the deck profile right now, but if you give enough likes and comments and things like that, I will do a deck profile later. However, we run instant fusion because of OCG having Nodin, and Elder God Nodin is just broken as hell. So it does allow us to summon back the Volcanic Rockets or the Royal Firestorm Guards, you know, and it allows us to XYZ. However, I've seen people run Fire Hand, Ice Hand, things like that. I don't really like those cards. I would much prefer to run other things such as, I don't know, Wabuku or Spiritual Fire Art Kurenai, or even just things to stop the current meta like Shadow Imprisoning Mirror. You see, the reason that this deck is so good is it doesn't have to deal with Shadow Imprisoning Mirrors. In fact, its worst nightmare is Macrocosmos, and that just doesn't exist in the game at the moment. Most people don't run Masked Heroes, but this deck just, you know, it has its methods of getting out of Masked Heroes. It has its way to stop, you know, Dark Law. It has Phoenix Wing Wind Blast, Mirror Force, Compulse, Solemn, Vanity's Emptiness. It has all the qualities of a good meta deck, but it runs it in an anti-meta way so that you always have the advantages, and it just surprises opponents how good the deck is. Now the best thing about the trap is, and it might not, you know, it might not appeal to most people, but I do like having a boss monster. Volcanic Doomfire is a 3000 attack pyro monster, and it's special summoned simply by sending a Tri-Blaze Accelerator from face up on your field to the grave, and Blaze Accelerator magazine counts as a Tri-Blaze Accelerator, so you immediately get a 3000 attack monster for what? For nothing. You got, you know. And the best part about the Volcanic Doomfire is when it destroys a monster and sends its graveyard, destroy all monsters your opponent controls, inflict 500 damage to your opponent for each monster destroyed by this effect. Now because of that, it's a mandatory effect. It happens. So let's say Falcon gets flipped up. If Falcon does get flipped up, he will special summon something if he wants to. He doesn't have to, but because it's an optional effect, he has to activate that before Doomfire resolves. So he summons something and then you immediately pop it. It's those kind of things that make this deck really good, and it's just so much free advantage. I love this deck, and I hope you guys will give enough likes and comments and things like that. Share this video as well, because you know, I want to share this deck profile with you guys, and I want you guys to enjoy it. It's so trolly, it's so fun, and you know how much I love ghost tricks and things like that, just decks that shouldn't be in the meta, but this is definitely one of those tier 1 rogue decks. I love this deck, and you know, if it makes it to the point where it gets really popular, maybe you'll be looking at a Scattershot ban soon. But yeah, hopefully we'll get the Blaze Accelerator magazine and the TCG so we can see more of these decks. I happen to like it. Its only real weakness is trap stun, but not a lot of people run trap stun. And actually that's the one last thing I'll mention is, guys, Blaze Accelerator magazine is so good within the deck because your opponent has two choices when it comes to Blaze Accelerator magazine, okay? They can choose to allow it to go through and keep it on the field, in which case you discard a Volcanic card and then you draw a card. So you've got this constant draw. You've got two draws, one for your turn and one for your opponent's turn, so you constantly keep drawing just by discarding things that can be recycled later. So it just keeps the advantage going. But if they want to destroy it, they run the risk of you not having Scattershot in the hand, but you have it in your deck. So what magazine does is during your opponent's, you know, main phase, or your main phase to be fair, but you would usually do it on your opponent's main phase, you can banish the Blaze Accelerator magazine and then send a Volcanic card from your deck to the graveyard. Now because it counts as a Blaze Accelerator, you can send Volcanic Scattershot straight from your deck to the grave. It'll inflict 500 damage, send two more Scattershots from your hand or deck to the grave, and then you're immediately going to use a Raigeki effect and deal 1500 damage total. So that's why you don't want to MST a Blaze Accelerator magazine. It's one of those things where it's a card that's just too good. It's a card that the deck doesn't truly depend on it, but it does make things so much easier if you can get it. It just, you know, if your opponent wants to Typhoon, he's going to suffer for it. He's going to suffer somehow. You're going to send Volcanic counter to the grave. You're going to add consistency by sending Volcanic Shell to the grave because you've already got another Blaze Accelerator magazine on the field face down. It's these choices that make the deck so good and make your opponent's head hurt, and that's why I love the deck, because it's so trolly and so fun. So comment, like and subscribe, and this is Seth punching out.